Welcome back, students. In today's video, we'll be talking about Flexbox. That is a responsive layout which we generally use in CSS. However, there are many other layouts as well. Primarily talking about after Flexbox, we have grid layout as well. But the old method of laying out the components using the margin, padding, and border layers in a box layout model is somewhat old, and we generally don't use them if we want to have a responsive website. And this is because Flexbox is one of the newest concept of layout designing, and it generally helps to do the layout very easily using all the properties of Flexbox. Now today we'll be discussing Flexbox in detail, and we'll be using them on our website which we are currently working on. And let's move ahead. Now a Flexbox is something where the display, instead of giving it as a block, it is generally given as flex. Now, by doing so, it is neither inline, the display is neither inline nor block, but all the flex properties are applicable only if the display of the container is set as flex. Now, there are different properties which we can apply majorly in two forms. Actually, Flexbox stands for flexible box, right? So it is somewhat which is very much useful in a responsive website designing, and it's very easy to use, first of all. Now, generally, the display type of a properties of items, when set as flex, when the display is set as flex, then there are certain ease of doing the work, because we have plenty of properties which we can use in the container as well as in the container items. Now we'll be elaborating them in minutes. Let's start with the practical session, and then we'll obviously elaborate about the complete details of how to use them, and how much easy it becomes, right? Okay. Now, generally, we have an alternative of display specifying as block or as inline, and then float can be used for aligning it on the left side or on the right side, but it is actually generally a method followed for covering up the layout design. But if we want to say that we have to have a design which will make our website much more easy to handle, much more responsive, then Flexbox is the only option which we can go for. However, there is a grid method as well. We'll be talking about grid also later on. But currently, let us focus on this Flexbox type of layout arrangement. Okay. So now, what is actually Flexbox and how it is being arranged? Now you can see on the right hand side there is a particular design which is coming up, and you can arrange and create designs of your own choice if you tend to understand the different properties of Flex and how to use them. Initially, let us first talk about the Flexbox elements. Now, when we talk about a Flexbox, it actually has two parts. The first part is the container, and whatever content it has can be arranged in form of items. So basically we have two parts. One is the container part, another one is the item part. Now if I'm talking about the container, which is referred to as the parent element, now the parent element or the container is generally the active part where the display type is set. That is, the flex display type is actually set to the container, and then we work upon with the element properties when we set to the element items. Now, whenever we talk about a parent container for a Flexbox, it is none other than a div. Okay, a div is generally used for creating the container, and all the other contents inside that div can also be arranged in a div if you want. It can be individual elements, it can be a div, but primarily the parent element is always a division, a div, okay, and we'll be using them, okay. Now, the flex elements or the child elements of the container and makeup of contents of the box, right? So when we talk about the contents are obviously of box model, but the arrangement of these box items, the items can be in box model, but the how we arrange the items in our container, that can be done through the Flexbox. So a website can be a mix match of more than one types of models of CSS, but primarily Flexbox is the most easiest method, easiest format of usage. Now, just to have a practical demonstration about the whole thing, we'll break up into small parts, like we'll be starting with a basic design, and then gradually we'll move into the complexities of the different Flexbox properties and how they can be arranged in a website, right? So let us go for the practical demonstration now, and we'll be using Flexbox from start, okay, from scratch. So let's do that. So let us start this script. This is my, what you can say, the Sublime, and let me open up the file on the right hand side. That is what we do already. It actually helps us to understand how the coding is to be done. Moreover, the approach is simple enough. So let me find out my projects folder. Yeah, this is it. HTML and HTML file started up. Got it. So in the previous example, what we discussed was the box model. And in the box model, we generally created an image, and this is how the ultimate look came up. So it's okay. Now let us do something for this. Let's create the elements first. Okay. So this is my container. So I'll be using this as my container, and inside this I can obviously define few items as well. So let me create the class as container items item, yeah, and we have some, we'll name them as A, copy and paste them multiple times. That would be easier for to do. This is, let's say, B, C, D, and E. Okay. Okay. Now, this is my, first of all, let me save this and I'll just run it. So this is my container and area. Now let me do some CSS work if I want to actually work on them. So let us move down. I'll define one class called container. Okay. Let the background color be RGB. It's just a simple CSS designing I'm doing. First is color. Okay. I need my color as black. Let me set up the Should I set the height as well, or should I not? Let the margin be 10 pixels. Okay, done. This is enough for container. For container item, okay, let us decide a background color for this. Just a random pick. This would be somewhat greenish type. Okay, the color would be greenish. The foreground color I would like to be white, and font size. Let's say let it be 25 pixels. Just a random pick which I'm wanting now. Width, let me settle it with 70 pixels is okay. And margin, should I have a margin also? Margin of 10 pixels will be good. And ultimately line height. Line height, let it be 50 pixels. So this is a simple design which I am going for. So this is how it is looking now currently. One more thing, I would just have the text align as center. Just save it and okay, I have done the margin as 10 pixels. 10 pixels is done. 10 pixels more for the top part and bottom part maybe. Okay. So this is item pixel is this, margin set to this is this, okay. Okay. Done. Now, the first important part is that we need to say that the container must be a flex container. Now, just see what happens if I just set the display as flex. So first of all, this setting up this display as flex will automatically render everything in a completely different way. Now you can easily see that this particular this display container has now become a flex box, and all the containers are aligned from left to right. Right. So this is one of the most important points which is to be taken care of. That is, if you want to set the flex box, you need to set the container display as flex. This is how it turns it into a flex box. Number one. Now, the most important theme which we now got to understand about it is now the two important properties which we'll now introduce for the container is the flex direction and wrap. So we need to understand them first of all. Let me first check and specify the flex direction. Now when you specify the flex direction, it is either by default the direction is row wise. Row wise means all the elements are arranged in a row. Okay, so if you are specifying row, then obviously this is the default thing which you are picking. So there will be no changes which will come up now. There will be no changes. But there is one property else allow which goes with row is called as reverse. So if you say row reverse, that means the first element is A, the last element is E as per the creation format, Now it will just reverse it altogether. So if I save it and then see the effect, now you can see first of all it has reversed the display. Somewhat the alignment has also changed from left alignment to right alignment is it gone for. Here left and right is not the alignment. The alignment is something different. We'll talk about them later on. So row reverse is everything will be in opposite. Similarly, we have a column specification for directions. So when you specify column here, then whatever the first display was, that will be the same display will come up. See here, you can easily see that all the contents are been aligned from top to bottom. This is called as the column wise direction of Flex. So you can either have it on a single row or you can have it on a single column. Similarly, for column also you can have a reverse thing going on. So if you say column reverse, now all the elements will be from bottom up. Okay. So A, B, C, D and E are all arranged in an opposite direction. Why? Because you have specified it into a column reverse format. So let us do one thing. We'll go back to our original. That is, I want everything in the original format. That is the row wise format. Okay. So direction is row. Everything comes back to normal. Now, after this, we need to add the wrap property. Now, the wrap property is something when you specify flex wrap, this means by default there is no wrap, right? There is no wrap, nothing wrap. But you can specify the wrapping property like let me first add some elements for you. So I've added some items. Now let me refresh it. Now automatically it will get adjusted. Okay, it will automatically get adjusted. There is no wrap by default. Okay, so I need to wrap them now. So in order to wrap them, first of all you will say flex wrap. Wrap. Now here too, when you specify wrap, it will automatically adjust in the lower dimension. That is based on the size, the width of the whole web page, and the width settled down by your code. That is, you have settled each and every item width to have 70% pixels. But accordingly, it will change. If you don't say that it should wrap, then automatically it will fit in the same row and automatically the sizes will change, right? That is one of the most important factors here. So I hope that you have understood. Now, one thing more, default is no wrap. If you set it as wrap, then you can also can set as wrap reverse. The same effect will come if I save it and then run it. Automatically, it will be bottom up thing. Okay, so A, B, C, D, E, F, G and H, I, J will come on the top row. Instead of coming in the bottom row, it will just come in the top row. So the difference is when we wrap, automatic comes down in the second row. But if I wrap reverse, then automatically it will come to the top row. So that is the difference between wrap and wrap reverse. I hope that you have understood this part. Okay. Now let us remove this items now. Why? Because we need to understand something which is called as the justify content. Now justify content is another property which is usable in flex mode. And let me first so everything is working fine. Now the justify content is a property which is applicable only in the parent, number one. And if it is specified in the parent, then accordingly the contents will be displayed. Now default is flex start. Now flex start is something which is referred to as your left alignment, right? So the starting of the flex is from left, therefore it will automatically come from the left side. Flex start. If I save and then show you the output, it will not change at all. So it is the default one. Flex end is something which obviously makes it right aligned, right? So it becomes automatically right aligned, and it is the end of the flex. Okay, Flexbox. The third important property which we can have here is center. Now these are something which we already know about. In text alignment, we generally know about them. So this is now center aligned. Okay. Now one important factor which is very important in justify content, and which is very useful also, is we can add space in between if you want. So space in between is something which is very good, and if I run the code now, it will automatically spread it out, and spaces will be added in between also. So in between the spaces will be added on, and automatically you will say that okay, the complete content has been arranged, the complete flexbox has been filled with, right? But instead of this space between, the best option would be space around. Why? Because it not only adds in between spaces but also adjusts the outside spaces also as well. So if I show you the output, you will obviously choose, okay, this is my best approach. See, equal distance from start till end. You'll assume to understand and see that every component, every element has been stretched out but spread out in a uniform way, right? On the left side also, the margin is so much set that it looks like it is equally distributed. So justify content is one of the very important aspects, and that is what will follow later on. Now let me do one change here. Let me add the height as 300 pixels. Do the changes. Okay. So here you can see that once I have made the changes, the height has been changed. Now this is a very problematic situation because it is the height is also stretched now. Yes or no? The height is also stretched. Now here we can you can say see, this is something which is very much required at times. Now what we did is we justify the content and space around, so everything is good. But when the height is changed, automatically the complete item is now stretched. Now here is the position where we should use another item. Now this particular attribute is applicable in the container item section only. Okay, so if I use as align items, now this is set on the class segment for all the sub items. So I can use it as flex start. So if I do this, then automatically everything will come up on the left starting left side. But that is not the case which I want. I want them to be flex end, flex start. Why is it not working? Let me see. It's starting from the top only. Okay. Sorry, I need to add it on the container area because that is what we should do. Yeah, sorry. So now everything is coming up on the top. So it is flex start. Now let me tell you, now the flex start is on the top, flex end is the bottom, and center is the center. So if I set the alignment of items as center, Now automatically it will come in the center part. So this will now look good. Okay. Now see, each and every item is stretched along, and it is uniformly vertically aligned, right? Centered, vertically centered aligned. So for example, if you want to do the alignment from the horizontal alignment, go for justify content. If you want to do the horizontal alignment, sorry, vertical alignment, then go for align items. That is what is required. Now let me say one thing. The default is not start flex, start end. The default is stretched. So the thing which we saw was the stretched thing. Okay. And one more item is important. Apart from stretch, there is a baseline as well. Now, if I assign baseline here, there is no changes you can see. But if I make a particular change, like let me individually set the height as 100 pixels. Okay, I'm doing this for just B. Okay, for just B, I'm changing the height. Now you can see that the contents are all aligned on the top, and all the top position values are also aligned in the same way. Now if I do one thing, center. So see, the content, this particular item and this particular item is all aligned in the center part, right? So that is what the thing is. One thing I just forgot to do is, for the item I need to add the text align as center, because that is something which everybody wants to do, right? Yeah. So let's remove the height now. Yeah. So now the important thing which we should understand is the order. The general order of items is according to the definition. Like first is A, second is B, third is C, then D, then E. If you ever want to change the order, then that must be done. You have to override it. Okay. You have to override the attributes, the flex attributes, so that individually each and every item can be given a different order. Right. So let me do that. So style, order is something which is important for all, right? So you have to give it for all. Now what I'll give is, first let me set the order of C first. Okay. So default order value is 0. The default order value is 0. So you need to specify the order numbers from 1. So if C is 1, set 1 to C. Then let us give it to E. So 2. Then let us have B as 3. And then A, that is, let's say 4. And D as 5. So as per the current order, the first item would be C, then E, then B, then A, and then D, right? So let me reverse. First is C, then E, then B, then A, and then D. So this is how the order has been set now. So it doesn't matter in which order you have defined it, but in order to change the sequence order at runtime, you can easily do that using the order property. So order is very, very important. Apart from order, there is one important aspect which we should do for responsive work. Generally, when I shrink the contents, Okay, one thing, I should remove the wrap here because okay, we comment it out now. Okay, so if I minimize the value, okay, for example, I'm shrinking it. My website is now opened on a mobile phone, assuming that it's a mobile phone, and there is a area after which you cannot shrink, right? You cannot go down. Why? Because the size which you have specified is 70 pixels for each and every item. Now that is what we now need to change. Now there are three important properties called as flex shrink, flex grow, and flex basis. These are the things which are very important to understand. Why? Because when you are working with your HTML file, and every element has to be set with the default value, right? So let me do that. So I need to specify after order is your flex basis. Flex basis is something which is the default value. So I would set that 100 pixel is my default value for all. Okay. After this, let me set the flex uh, shrink grow. Grow would be okay. Yeah. Grow. Now, if I set 1 here, that means every element will grow according to the proportion of 1. But if I want D to grow in a double pace, then what I should do is individually go to D and set 2 to that. That means everybody, if it is incrementing 10 centimeter for every object, then it will be 20 centimeter for D. If I set a value of 2 there. 3 means 3 times, 4 means 4 times. Okay. Now, the last option is your shrink. But generally, we don't give shrink because the default value for shrink is 1 only. If I don't want any object to be shrinked, then I should set it to value 0. Okay. So let me set it up. Flex shrink as 1. So everybody will uniformly grow, everybody will uniformly shrink, and the default size, basis size would be 100 pixels. So that is what we are setting here. So if I now what will happen is now automatically as I expand my size, automatically the complete each and every component is expanding. This is your grow property. Now after that you can shrink them, and as per the shrink property it will also try to shrink. So this is something which is very important for a responsive website, right? But if I want, okay, I don't want this to grow, right? Or in other words, if A is growing, for example this D, for this D object, let me set the growth value as 3 and the shrink as 2. Now let's see. So when I am growing, so it is growing in a double pace, number one. And when I'm shrinking, it is also shrinking in double pace. So whatever the size is, it is shrinking in a triple, 3 times multiple of this. So shrinking and shrinking 2 times and expanding in a 3 time way, right? Best would be set 1 for all, right? Now whatever we have written here, there is a shortcut way of doing the same thing. Okay, so let's do it. So shortcut way is, instead of specifying each and every value, you can specify all the values in a single property called as flex property. So that is what we'll do now. So flex, the first value is the grow value, then is the shrink value, and the third is the basis value. So 1 for grow, space, 1 for shrink, and space, and 100 px for basis. So it will affect the same. Obviously, there will be no changes here. But one thing is for sure, that it will move in the same way. It will do the same thing. So for responsive websites, it's better to specify the size and shape using the flex property, right? Now there are certain things which we can do separately as well. The third important property which can be specified separately is the align self property. Now align self property can be individually set, number one. And if I set the align flex like flex start, which particular item has been set like this? A has been set. So A will move up automatically. So all the contents will seem in a center way, but A will automatically come up on the top. Okay. So let us see the effect. So let's come. Now if I want this C to be here, E at the bottom, B here, A on the top, and D same here. So E must be set on the bottom. Okay. E. So what I can do is I can set the align self property to flex end. Okay. Once done so, it will obviously come down. So it is now like a wave concept. So it's totally dependent on what you want to have, what type of design you want to have, and accordingly you can set the value. So there are three important properties you can set here. One is your center, another one is flex start, and the last one is flex end. So I hope that you have understood Flexbox a lot, and we have discussed different properties and how they can be used. There are certain properties which are used on the class level of the container. There are certain attributes which is common for all the items, and there are certain properties which must be set separately, overriding it on the particular item itself. So that is what is here. So we'll meet on the next uh, topic. That would be your grid layout. That will be the final layout segment what we have. Okay. So thank you.